Welcome to the Kayak Bass Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Jared. Today's episode is all going to be about the management of your mental state prior to, during, and after tournaments. So right now on YouTube, there are 10 million videos you can watch that talk about this bait or that bait, or they're going to talk about different equipment that you must have to be successful at this game of tournament bass fishing. Today, we're going to talk about the mental aspects of the game and how it may be way more important than what you have tied on at the end of your line. So we're all gear junkies at heart. I think everybody likes the newest bait. Everybody likes to see new stuff come out and try different things. But what we overlook a lot of times is it's not the gear, it's the person managing the gear that matters. So we've seen tournament after tournament where the winners have told us, hey, the key to this was that I had to mentally reset myself halfway through in the day, or I had to keep myself from just spinning out during a tournament because I was having a really bad day. Once I got a hold of my thought process, then I actually turned my day around. I've heard that story time after time. So what I wanted to do today is give you a resource that you can use in this off season. Right now it's the depth of winter here in Illinois where I'm filming this, and start to work now to strengthen yourself for those tournaments mentally and get a system down pat. Now, what if a piece of gear included a book? We never think about that a lot of times on in the bass fishing world, right? We always think about gear being new rods, new reels, whatever. But what if it's a manual to how to run our minds during high stress events or during competitions? That's what I want to talk to you about today and give you a resource that you can use to help strengthen yourselves during the tournament season. So here's the book that I'm going to talk about, and it's called Attainment, the 12 Elements of Elite Performance. The author to this book is Troy Bassham, and it's funny that his last name is Bassham. How ironic. The book is not about bass fishing, and yet it's all about bass fishing. So it's not about our support, because it doesn't mention fishing once in here. But what it does talk about is competition. Now, the author of the book, just to give you an idea of the source, is a 12-time national champion and world champion in international rifle shooting. And he happens to be the son of an Olympic gold medalist. I've actually heard his father, the Olympic gold medalist, also speak about some of these same topics. So this family knows about training, and they know about coaching winning athletes. And like it or not, that is part of being a successful kayak bass angler, is you have to manage what you're thinking during the day. So I'm not going to go through this whole book. I really encourage anyone that wants to get serious about their game is to read a book like this. This one was actually a gift to me this Christmas. And I really enjoy the book. Number one, it's short. It's only 100 pages long. It's very easy to read. As a matter of fact, I liked it so much, I bought one for a Christmas gift for a nephew of mine that was just getting started in a different sport. But I just want to go over a couple of the big ideas in this book, and I encourage you to pick this up. It's less than $20 on Amazon. But there are just a couple of big ideas. I want to give you a preview of what's in this book that can help you during your bass fishing. So one of the biggest messages that I got from this book is the core idea is that success is a learned mental process, not just talent. Okay. Let me repeat that. Success is a learned mental process, not just talent. Yes, it's important that you know your gear. It's important you know the process for competing in tournaments. It's important you know the species of fish you're trying to catch. But it is also a learned mental process. And one of those things is that you have to ask yourself, what level are you competing at, or why are you competing? And the book lists 3 different levels, if you will, of competition. Training to learn, training to compete, and training to win. So training to learn, training to compete, and training to win. 3 different levels of competition. So let's look at that a little closer. Training to learn. So in this sport, there's tons of things to learn. Everything from tying the right knots, to boat positioning, to learning about the senses of the fish that you're going after. So this is kind of the basics. The training to learn is learning the absolute basics that everyone needs to know. My favorite example of how important the basics are actually doesn't come from the book. It comes from some other reading that I did, and it was about Coach John Wooden. And if you don't know who Coach John Wooden was, he was probably the best basketball coach of all time. He was a coach in the NCAA at the UCLA, and he actually won 10 NCAA championships in 12 years. Wrap your mind around that a minute. His team at UCLA won 10 championships in 12 years. He knew something about training people to be successful. So one of the basics that he talked about in his books is that he taught his players to master the basics to become great, to the point where one of his first lessons he would give them as the season started was how to put on their socks correctly. His rationale was that's a basic skill. If you can put on your socks correctly, it will prevent blisters. If you can tie your shoes correctly, it will help maintain the way your socks are. And if you have blisters and you have foot injuries, guess what? You can't practice. If you don't practice, you're not going to succeed well during the game, or you're not going to perform at the level that everyone else is. So this train to learn idea is so important. Train at the basics. The best are masters at the basics. Another basic, I think, from our sport is something like casting. Can you put that bait exactly where you need to put it? You watch people like one of the best casters I've seen, especially in kayaks, is Christine Fisher. You watch some of her videos and how she can cast under a bush or under a dock or anything like that. She has mastered that basic skill that has led to elite performance. A quote that I love is, "Champions are brilliant at the basics." That's John Wooden. Champions are brilliant at the basics. So again, training to learn is mastering those basics. The next level that they talk about in this simple book is training to compete. So that's kind of, I think, where I'm at right now. And I have not mastered really some of the basics, but now I feel like I'm training. I should know enough to be competitive. I'm very happy if I get my 5 fish. I'm very happy if I finish somewhere in the top half of the standings. It doesn't ensure that you're going to win, but it certainly improves the likelihood you're going to win. So once I've mastered those basics, now I'm training to compete. But here's the thing: I have learned that the biggest competition I need to focus on is competing with myself. Did I perform better than I did in the last tournament? Even if the numbers don't show it, did I perform those basics at a higher level than I did last time or last year even? Okay, and I'm really going over this fast, and these are 3 things out of literally 100 ideas in this book. So again, you need to really take a look at the book. If you look at my copy now, every page has got stuff marked on it. And the third level we want to talk about real quick is training to win. The author says train to win. That's those people that are the elite performers of the game. They dedicate themselves more in practice. They dedicate more of their life and energy to making sure not only that can they compete, but they can also win. Training to win is just when the people are just driven at a high level. When I think of other sports, when someone training to win, I think about players like Michael Jordan. I think players that are absolutely at the top of their game. One of the sports that is mentioned quite a bit in this book, Attainment, is golf. Golf is very much a mental game. So is fishing. If you don't believe that, you probably have never competed in a tournament. When you've put money down, and there's not only money on the line, but also there's a time factor. There's some serious stress that gets introduced depending on the level of your competition. So this talks about how to manage that program. Okay, and the last general idea I want to talk about that's in this book And again, the book is Attainment, the 12 Elements of Elite Performance by Troy Bassham, Bassham. The last idea I want to talk about is to focus on the process, not necessarily the outcome. So the idea is, as we prepare in the off season, with our practice sessions, with our planning, as we prepare, we develop a program. So a program on how to evaluate not only the conditions of the moment, so we can, it's a very catchy phrase, fish the moment, but it's so true. And once we develop that process, so we can make sure we're fishing in the moment, we're doing everything that plays to our strengths, that we're mastering the basics, that's our program. So once we get that program developed, when we launch, we run the program. And your program for fishing could include, every 30 minutes or every 60 minutes, I'm going to evaluate what I'm doing right now. Is that showing results? If it's not, then maybe evaluate things like bait selection, evaluate locations that you're fishing. Maybe the depth needs to be different. So you have to have that motor program, have a plan, and work the plan. So the example that I could apply this to bass fishing is, do you have a bait that you have a very high confidence in? So if your plan is to, say you like a Texas rigged worm, and your plan is to make sure that your rotation of baits always includes a Texas rigged worm, that's one of the things that you have the highest confidence in. If you're having problems, having a bad day, the last thing you want to do is not use that bait in which you have, at some point, in which you have confidence in. Last point I want to bring up from the book was that the author has this great quote: "You either win or you learn. There is no losing." Okay, you either win or you learn. There is no losing. So even if you don't finish, at the number one spot or the top 3 spots, you have to think about, after the tournament's over, what did you learn during that tournament that can actually elevate your performance in the next one or the next season. And that's why this podcast got started, was because I wanted to interview people that were being successful to help raise my level of success. And this is one of the ways we can do that. So in this off season, make sure you're maintaining your rods and reels and everything else you're doing in the off season. But also don't forget, we need to maintain what goes on between our ears and polish that system so we can be successful on the water. So I'll leave you with this. Mental management may be the most consistent theme among winning tournament anglers. You have to make important decisions on the water and make sure that you are thinking with a clear head. So in that pressure moment, the last hour or the last 5 minutes, and you need one more fish, how do you work to make sure that you keep your head clear? How do you work to make sure that you can make that cast that only 5% of the field can actually make? So these are things that are all covered in this book called Attainment. I think it's a great resource. I encourage you to take a look. I'll put a link to the book on Amazon down below. But let me know your thoughts, and what do you use to mentally prepare yourself for your next tournament?